Welcome to The Real News. I'm Sharmini Pires, and we're in the Unite Here offices in New York City, and I'm joined by Ginny Coughlin. She is the Global Strategies Director for Unite Here, and she's going to join us for a conversation about Employee Free Choice Act. Welcome, Ginny.
Thank you, Sharmini. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Ginny, let's begin by explaining what the Employee Free Choice Act is.
So the Employee Free Choice Act is really probably the most significant potential piece of legislation that workers have had in 30 years, 40 years. It's a very simple piece of legislation that would essentially change the labor law to allow workers to have more democracy, more control in the workplace, to have a seat at the table with management, to make decisions about how their lives are run. It will allow workers to bargain for higher wages, better benefits, pensions, and like I said, to be able to have a seat at the table.
And this is not in place right now, so this act would actually put that in place, is that?
Yes, that's right.
And it is not about unionization? Or is it
Sure.
after unionization?
It is about allowing workers to join unions if they choose to form unions. I think two things that are important to know about our country is, first, that as you've seen the decline of the middle class over the past 30 years, and we're now really seeing the end result of the decline of the middle class, young people who are losing their jobs, 68,000 jobs lost today alone. They're calling it Black Monday for jobs today. As you've seen the decline in the middle class, you've also seen a decline in the rate of unionization. The fewer workers who are able to bargain for their wages.
Put this in context. Has unionization been declining in the United States?
Yes, absolutely. So unionization in the 1950s was around probably about 30 to 40% of workers belonged to unions, and now it's less than 10%.
And that includes the public sector?
It may be that with public sector it's more like 12%, and then private sector is certainly less than 10%.
So it's a quarter of the workers are now unionized compared to 40 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Huge numbers of workers have lost their ability to bargain.
What are the main reasons for this?
Well, we think there are a lot of reasons, but clearly one reason is that the law is really stacked against workers. The process for forming a union in the United States is a very cumbersome, onerous, difficult process that easily allows employers, bosses to intimidate workers, threaten workers, fire workers, and the law hardly protects workers at all right now.
So the Employee Free Choice Act is obviously to facilitate greater unionization in the country.
Exactly.
And what are the unions actually doing to ensure that this legislation is a viable one that actually makes it through Senate and Congress and gets approved by this administration?
Well, we're so happy that Barack Obama is now the president of the United States. It's such an amazing change that I think we're still just getting our heads wrapped around. Barack Obama, when he was, shortly after he first announced his campaign, he came and spoke to a meeting of union leaders, local grassroots union leaders, workers from the Change to Win Union Federation, from all over the country, from many different unions.
What is Change to Win?
Change to Win is a federation of unions. You have two federations in the United States. Many people are familiar with the AFL-CIO, and we also have a newer federation of unions that's a progressive organizing federation that includes the Teamsters and the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, service employees, and Unite Here. That's Change to Win. When Barack Obama spoke to us, I think it's a year and a half ago, one of the things he said was that he supports the right of workers to join unions, and he supports legislation to level the playing field to make it easier for workers to be able to join a union, and he supports the Employee Free Choice Act. So that's the starter, that our new president supports this piece of legislation.
So what indications do you have now that he's in office that he will actually follow through, make sure this piece of legislation gets through? What confidence do you have?
There's a lot of evidence. We're very, very happy with how the development of the administration is going. As you can imagine, we were thrilled with the appointment of Hilda Solis as Secretary of Labor. She's a great friend of workers. She's been a friend of our union for many years, dozens of years. In fact, in some ways, one of the first things she did with our union, this was when I joined the union almost 15 years ago, we had discovered some illegal sweatshops in Southern California. And workers from Thailand were being held in bondage in the sweatshop. You may remember the case, the El Monte sweatshop case. And it was Hilda Solis who came in and helped us and helped those workers. And really showed a lot of bravery and was, stood up to the corporations in that case. And
that's really wonderful news. Hilda Solis is being endorsed by all these unions. She's being well received.
Absolutely.
How's the corporate sector receiving her appointment?
Oh, I think very well. Look, there are a set of corporate employers who want to work with the Obama administration, that want to work with their employees, that want to work with the community, that want to work with labor unions to grow America. It's clear. I think there's been a sea change in public opinion with the election of Barack Obama. I think we're going to get this legislation passed. Certainly there are corporate opponents to the legislation, but we're seeing, in fact, when we go out and talk to corporations about what this means, we had a chance to go and talk to McDonald's. McDonald's had been sort of opposing this law. We went out and we went into McDonald's stores, restaurants all across the country. We talked to McDonald's workers and we talked to McDonald's customers about employee free choice. And shortly after that, McDonald's publicly said, we support employee free choice. So I think that there's a sense among corporations right now that now is the time to work cooperatively with your employees, to spread the wealth a little bit, and to not try to stop things like allowing workers to have a union, that would come across as stingy and greedy at a time when corporations are really under attack for just that.
Ginny, we're looking for further unionization in this country at a time when we are actually in an economic crisis. So in our next segment, let's explore that a little bit further, and let's take a look at the economic stimulus package and what it means for workers in this country.
Great.
And thank you for joining us. Please join us for segment 2 with Ginny Coughlin with Unite Here.
Donate today and receive a new documentary film available to members of the Real News Network. The History of the National Security State with legendary author Gore Vidal. Bonus features of the DVD include an in-depth response to Vidal from ex-CIA analyst Ray McGovern, who served under 7 U.S. presidents, an exclusive interview with Colin Powell's former Chief of Staff Larry Wilkerson, and an insightful interview with oil policy analyst Antonia Juhas.
The news magazine of the screen. Living glimpses of history in the making.
Hollywood and Washington, there's a symbiotic relationship. They both deal with illusions. Reality doesn't often play much of a part. I think I saw through a myth of the Cold War almost from the beginning. I was a Washington political kid from a political family. Roosevelt first had radio because he had this great speaking voice and everyone liked to hear. Truman proceeded to break every arrangement that Roosevelt had set up for a peaceful coexistence. And Truman thought that it would be a good idea. Why not just stay armed all the time? And then he devised the national security state. You've got to go up and swear allegiance to the United States or else you're a commie. I mean, we had imported fascism. We get Dwight Eisenhower, who said that we have this great military industrial complex. It is a dangerous thing. And he said this is going to change everything. And the way our country's governed is going to change us politically. Along comes Jack Kennedy, who wanted to make his mark, believed in the Cold War. But he said, in this kind of politics, it is the appearance of things that matters. I think everybody should take a sober look at the world about us. The national security state still exists, only it isn't communism anymore, it's terrorism. This is the most serious thing that has happened in the history of the United States. Knowledge is power. We need an honest news system.
We need the real news.
This is the sort of thing we can build right now without anyone else's permission from the government or from the business community. It's the power's in our hands.
If we're not going to sleepwalk into more wars, we think we need to start with a television news network that won't bow to pressure and has the courage to seek facts. And that means independent economics. And that's why we need you.
Make a tax-deductible donation now of at least $10 a month or a one-time give of at least $75. As a thank you for your support, we will send you the new documentary film, The History of the National Security State.